Hey there, you looking kinda cute. Please consider subscribing and check out our Patreon for more. Enjoy the video. As Dr. Brown busied himself with the kettle, Marty and Biff sat down at the workbench. Biff began pulling items out of the bag, explaining each one as she went. "So, this is mascara," Biff said, holding up a small tube. "It's for your eyelashes. Makes them look longer and darker." Marty nodded, trying to absorb the information. "Okay, and this?" She picked up a small compact. "That's blush," Biff explained. "Goes on your cheeks. Gives you a bit of color." As they went through each item, Marty found herself relaxing. There was something oddly comforting about focusing on these small, tangible things. "You know," Marty said as Biff demonstrated how to apply eyeliner, "I never thought I'd be sitting here learning makeup tips from you." Biff laughed, the sound surprisingly melodic. "Yeah, life's funny that way. I never thought I'd be the one giving makeup tips, period." They fell into a comfortable silence for a moment, broken only by the sound of Dr. Brown puttering around with the tea things. "Hey, Biff," Marty said suddenly. "How are you really doing with all this? I mean, earlier you seemed pretty positive, but—" Biff's hand stilled, the eyeliner pencil hovering in midair. "Honestly, it's tough. Some days I wake up and I don't recognize myself in the mirror. It's like I'm living someone else's life." Marty nodded, understanding all too well. "Yeah, I get that. It's like everything's familiar but different at the same time." "Exactly," Biff agreed, her voice soft. "But then there are moments when it feels okay. Like maybe this isn't the end of the world, you know?" "I'm starting to," Marty admitted. "I mean, don't get me wrong, this is still crazy, but talking to you, making plans with Doc, it helps." Biff smiled, a genuine, warm expression that transformed her face. "Yeah, it does. Who'd have thought we'd end up friends, huh?" "Stranger things have happened," Marty said with a chuckle. "I mean, look at us." They both laughed at that, the sound filling the garage with a sense of camaraderie that neither had expected. Dr. Brown returned with a tray of tea and cookies, setting it down on the workbench. "Well, it seems you two are getting along splendidly." "Yeah," Marty said, surprised to find she meant it. "We are." As they sipped their tea and nibbled on cookies, the conversation flowed more easily. They discussed their fears, their hopes, and the strange new experiences they were facing. "You know what's weird?" Biff said, dunking a cookie in her tea. "I actually kind of like some of this girly stuff. Like, yesterday I spent an hour just trying on different outfits. Never thought I'd enjoy that." Marty raised an eyebrow. "Really? I haven't even looked at my closet yet." "Too scared, I guess." "You should try it," Biff encouraged. "It's kind of fun, actually, like playing dress-up, but for real." Dr. Brown nodded approvingly. "That's the spirit, Biff. Embracing new experiences is key to adjusting to any major life change." Marty considered this, turning the idea over in her mind. "Maybe you're right. Maybe I should give it a shot." "Tell you what," Biff said, her eyes lighting up with an idea. "Why don't we go shopping tomorrow? We can help each other pick out some new clothes. Make a day of it." Marty hesitated for a moment, the idea both exciting and terrifying. "I don't know. Come on," Biff urged. "It'll be fun. And hey, if we're gonna be girls, we might as well do it right. Right?" Dr. Brown chimed in, his voice gentle but encouraging. "It might be a good idea, Marty. A chance to explore this new aspect of yourself in a supportive environment." Marty took a deep breath, then nodded. "Okay, yeah, let's do it." Biff grinned, her excitement infectious. "Great! We'll make a whole day of it. Shopping, lunch, maybe even get our nails done or something." "Whoa, slow down there," Marty laughed. "Let's start with clothes and see how it goes." As they continued to chat and plan, Marty felt a sense of excitement building. This whole situation was still bizarre and overwhelming, but for the first time, she felt like she might actually be able to handle it. The next morning dawned bright and clear, a perfect day for their shopping expedition. Marty stood in front of her closet, staring at her clothes with a mixture of trepidation and curiosity. "Okay, McFly, she muttered to herself. "You can do this. It's just clothes." After several minutes of internal debate, she finally settled on a pair of jeans that now hugged her curves in a way they never had before, and a simple t-shirt. It wasn't exactly glamorous, but it was comfortable and familiar. As she made her way downstairs, she could hear her parents in the kitchen. Taking a deep breath, she stepped into the room. "Morning," she said, trying to keep her voice casual. Her mother turned, a warm smile on her face. "Good morning, sweetie. Sleep well?" Marty nodded, still marveling at how easily her parents had accepted this change. Dr. Brown's explanation about a rare genetic condition had apparently been enough to satisfy them. "I'm, going shopping today," Marty said, pouring herself a glass of orange juice. "With Biff." Her father looked up from his newspaper, eyebrows raised. "Biff? I thought you two didn't get along." Marty shrugged, trying to appear nonchalant. "Things change, I guess. We've got some stuff in common now." Her mother nodded approvingly. "That's wonderful, dear. It's always good to make new friends. Do you need some money for your shopping trip?" "No, I'm good," Marty said quickly, not wanting to prolong the conversation. "Thanks, though. I should get going." With a quick goodbye, she headed out the door, breathing a sigh of relief as she stepped into the fresh morning air. Biff was waiting for her at the end of the driveway, leaning against a sleek red convertible that Marty had never seen before. "Nice ride," Marty said, admiring the car. "Where'd you get it?" Biff grinned, running a hand lovingly over the hood. "It was my uncle's. He left it to me in his will. Just got it fixed up." "Sweet," Marty said, sliding into the passenger seat. "So, where are we headed?" "I thought we'd start at the mall," Biff said, starting the engine. "They've got a good selection, and it's not too overwhelming." As they drove, Marty found herself studying Biff out of the corner of her eye. The other girl looked completely at ease, her hair blowing in the wind, a contented smile on her face. "You seem happy," Marty observed. Biff glanced over, her smile widening. "You know what? I kind of am. Don't get me wrong, this whole thing is still weird as hell, but I don't know. It's like I'm getting a fresh start, you know?" Marty nodded, understanding the feeling. "Yeah, I get that. It's like we've been given a chance to reinvent ourselves." "Exactly," Biff agreed. "And hey, at least we're in it together, right?" As they pulled into the mall parking lot, Marty felt a flutter of nervousness in her stomach. "I've never been shopping for girl clothes before," she admitted. "I have no idea what I'm doing." Biff laughed, patting Marty's arm reassuringly. "Don't worry, I've been doing some research. We'll figure it out together." They made their way into the mall, the bustling crowds and bright storefronts a bit overwhelming at first. Biff led the way to a trendy clothing store, its windows filled with mannequins sporting the latest fashions. "Okay," Biff said, her voice taking on a determined tone. "Let's start with the basics. Jeans, t-shirts, that kind of thing. Then we can work our way up to dresses and skirts if you want." Marty nodded, grateful for Biff's guidance. They spent the next hour sifting through racks of clothes, with Biff offering advice on sizes and styles. "Try these on," Biff said, handing Marty a pile of clothes. "And remember, it's okay if not everything fits perfectly. That's why we try stuff on." In the dressing room, Marty found herself faced with a new challenge, figuring out how to put on a bra. After a few minutes of struggling, she finally managed to get it on. "You okay in there?" Biff called from outside the dressing room. "Yeah," Marty called back, her voice slightly strained. "Just learning new skills." She heard Biff laugh. "Been there. It gets easier, I promise." As Marty tried on different outfits, she found herself actually enjoying the process. There was something satisfying about finding clothes that fit well and looked good. "How's it going?" Biff asked as Marty emerged from the dressing room. Marty grinned, holding up a few items. "Pretty good, actually. I think I've got the hang of this." They made their way to the checkout, their arms laden with bags. As they stepped back out into the mall, Biff turned to Marty with a mischievous glint in her eye. So, she said, ready for the next challenge? Marty raised an eyebrow. What did you have in mind? Biff pointed to a nearby store, its windows filled with frilly, lacy items. Underwear shopping. Marty felt her face flush. Oh boy, she muttered. This should be interesting. As they entered the store, Marty was immediately overwhelmed by the sheer variety of items on display. Bras in every color and style imaginable lined the walls, while tables were piled high with panties of all shapes and sizes. Okay, Biff said, her voice low and conspiratorial. First things first, we need to figure out your bra size. Marty's eyes widened. My what now? Biff chuckled. Your bra size. It's important to get the right fit. Come on, I'll show you how to measure. The next half hour was a crash course in bra fitting, with Biff patiently explaining the intricacies of cup sizes and band measurements. Marty found herself alternating between embarrassment and fascination as she learned about a world she'd never given much thought to before. This is way more complicated than I thought, Marty said as they browsed the racks. How do you keep all this stuff straight? Biff shrugged. Practice, I guess. And a lot of trial and error. But hey, that's part of the fun, right? As they made their selections and headed to the checkout, Marty found herself marveling at how surreal this all was. Here she was, shopping for bras with Biff of all people, and actually enjoying herself. You know, Marty said as they left the store, I never thought I'd say this, but I'm actually having fun. Biff grinned, nudging Marty with her elbow. See, I told you it wouldn't be so bad. As they continued their shopping expedition, Marty and Biff found themselves falling into an easy rhythm. The initial awkwardness had faded, replaced by a sense of camaraderie and shared experience. They moved from store to store, trying on clothes, laughing at their mistakes, and gradually building up their new wardrobes. You know, Marty said as they took a break on a bench near the mall's central fountain, I never thought I'd say this, but I'm actually starting to enjoy this whole girl thing. Biff nodded, a thoughtful expression on her face. I know what you mean. It's not just about the clothes or the makeup. It's about discovering a whole new side of ourselves. Marty considered this, watching the shoppers bustling past. Yeah, exactly. Like I've always been me, you know? But now it's like there's this whole other aspect of me that I never knew existed. And it's not just about looks, Biff added. It's like I feel different on the inside too, more in touch with my emotions, I guess. Marty laughed. Is that why you haven't tried to punch anyone since this whole thing started? Biff grinned sheepishly. Maybe, but hey, don't push your luck, McFly. As the afternoon wore on, they decided to tackle one last challenge, dress shopping. Marty had been avoiding it all day, but Biff finally convinced her to give it a try. Come on, Biff urged, pulling Marty towards a store with an array of dresses in the window. You can't be a girl without at least one dress in your closet. Marty sighed, resigned to her fate. Fine, but nothing too frilly, okay? They entered the store, the racks filled with dresses of every style imaginable. Biff immediately started pulling options, holding them up against Marty with a critical eye. How about this one? Biff asked, holding up a simple navy blue dress with a flared skirt. Marty eyed it warily. I don't know. Isn't it a bit girly? Biff rolled her eyes. That's kind of the point, McFly. Come on, just try it on. If you hate it, we'll try something else. Reluctantly, Marty took the dress and headed for the fitting room. As she slipped it on, she was surprised by how soft the fabric felt against her skin. She zipped it up and turned to look in the mirror, her breath catching in her throat. The girl staring back at her was undeniably Marty, but at the same time, she looked completely different. The dress hugged her new curves in all the right places, the skirt swishing gently around her knees. Well, Biff called from outside. How does it look? Marty opened the fitting room door, stepping out hesitantly. Biff's eyes widened, a grin spreading across her face. Damn, McFly, she said appreciatively. You clean up nice. Marty felt her cheeks flush. Really? You don't think it's too much? Biff shook her head. No way, it's perfect. You look like you… Marty turned to look in the full-length mirror outside the fitting room, studying her reflection. For the first time since this whole ordeal began, she felt a sense of recognition. The girl in the mirror wasn't some stranger wearing her face. It was her, Marty McFly, in a new and unexpected form. I'll take it, Marty said decisively. As they left the store, their arms laden with bags, Marty felt a sense of accomplishment. It had been a long, exhausting day, but she felt like she'd made real progress. So, Biff said as they loaded their purchases into the car, what's next on the agenda? Marty thought for a moment. Well, we've got the clothes covered. Maybe we should work on some other girl stuff. Painting our nails or something. Biff's eyes lit up. Hey, yeah, I've been wanting to try that. My place or yours? They decided on Biff's house, figuring it would be easier to explain their activities to Biff's parents than to Marty's. As they drove, Marty found herself marveling at how much had changed in just a few short days. She said, turning to Biff, I never thought I'd say this, but I'm glad you're here with me through all this. I don't think I could have handled it on my own. Biff glanced over, a soft smile on her face. Me too, McFly. Who'd have thought we'd end up being friends, huh? As they pulled up to Biff's house, Marty felt a flutter of nervousness. She'd never been inside before, and she wasn't sure what to expect. Biff seemed to sense her hesitation. Don't worry, she said reassuringly. My parents are cool, they're just happy I'm making new friends. They gathered their bags and headed inside, Biff calling out a greeting as they entered. Biff's mother poked her head out of the kitchen, her face lighting up at the sight of them. Oh, you must be Marty, she said warmly. Biff's told us all about you. It's so nice to see her making new friends. Marty smiled, feeling herself relax. It's nice to meet you, Mrs. Tannen. Please, call me Linda, Biff's mother insisted. Are you girls hungry? I was just about to start dinner. Biff glanced at Marty, who nodded. That'd be great, Mom. We're just going to hang out in my room for a bit, okay? Linda nodded, her eyes twinkling. Of course. Have fun, girls. As they made their way upstairs, Marty couldn't help but marvel at how different Biff's home life seemed compared to what she'd always imagined. The house was warm and inviting, filled with family photos and cozy furnishings. Biff's room was a surprise, too. Instead of the messy, masculine space Marty had expected, it was neat and decidedly feminine, with soft pastel colors and delicate decorations. Catching Marty's surprised look, Biff shrugged. I've been redecorating. Figured if I'm going to be a girl, I might as well embrace it, right? They settled on Biff's bed, spreading out their purchases and the nail polish they'd picked up on the way. As they started painting each other's nails, the conversation flowed easily, touching on everything from their changing bodies to their hopes and fears for the future. You know what's weird? Marty said as she carefully applied a coat of deep blue polish to Biff's nails. I keep catching myself thinking about guys, in a way I never did before. Biff nodded, a thoughtful expression on her face. Yeah, I know what you mean. It's like our brains got rewired along with our bodies or something. Marty paused, looking up at Biff. Does it freak you out? I mean, the idea of, being with a guy? Biff was quiet for a moment, considering the question. A little, I guess. But at the same time, I don't know, there's a part of me that's kind of curious about it. Marty nodded, understanding completely. Yeah, same here. It's like, I know I should be freaked out by the idea, but I'm not. Not really. As they continued their nail painting session, the conversation drifted to other topics. They discussed their families, their hobbies, and their dreams for the future. Marty was surprised to discover how much she and Biff had in common, now that they weren't constantly at odds. Biff said as they admired their freshly painted nails, I never really had close friends before. Not real ones, anyway. Just people who hung around me because they were scared of me. Marty looked up, surprised by the vulnerability in Biff's voice. Really? I always thought you had tons of friends. Biff shook her head, a wry smile on her face. Nah, not really. I mean, I had my gang, but they weren't friends. Not like this. Marty felt a rush of warmth towards Biff. Well, you've got a real friend now, even if we did get off to a weird start. Biff laughed, the sound light and genuine. Yeah, I guess we did. But hey, maybe that's what we needed, a fresh start. As the evening wore on, they found themselves falling into an easy rhythm of conversation and laughter. They tried on their new clothes, experimenting with different outfits and hairstyles. Biff even convinced Marty to let her apply some makeup, teaching her the basics of foundation and eyeshadow. Marty said as she studied her reflection in Biff's mirror, I never thought I'd say this, but I actually kind of like how I look now. Biff grinned, standing beside her. Yeah, you look good, McFly. We both do. As they stood there, side by side, Marty was struck by how natural it all felt. The girl in the mirror wasn't a stranger anymore. She was Marty, just a different version of Marty. The sound of Biff's mother calling them for dinner broke the moment. As they made their way downstairs, Marty felt a sense of contentment she hadn't experienced since this whole ordeal began. Dinner with Biff's family was a surprisingly enjoyable affair. Biff's parents were warm and welcoming, asking Marty questions about her interests and her family without ever making her feel uncomfortable. As they cleared the table after the meal, Biff's father pulled Marty aside. I just wanted to say, he said in a low voice, that I'm glad Biff has found a friend like you. She's been through a lot lately, and it's good to see her happy. Marty nodded, touched by the man's sincerity. Thanks, Mr. Tannen. Biff's been a good friend to me, too. After dinner, they retreated back to Biff's room, sprawling out on the bed with full stomachs and contented smiles. So, Biff said, propping herself up on her elbows, what do you want to do now? We could watch a movie or something. Marty considered for a moment. Actually, I was thinking, maybe we could talk about what happens next. I mean, school starts again in a couple of weeks, and we're going to have to face everyone like this. Biff's expression grew serious. Yeah, I've been thinking about that too. It's not going to be easy. They spent the next hour discussing their concerns and making plans. They talked about how to handle questions from their classmates, how to deal with potential bullying, and how to navigate the complicated world of high school social dynamics as their new selves. We'll stick together, Biff said firmly. Anyone gives either of us trouble, they'll have to deal with both of us. Marty nodded, feeling a surge of gratitude for Biff's friendship. Yeah, we've got each other's backs. As the evening wore on, Marty realized it was getting late. I should probably head home, she said reluctantly. My parents will be wondering where I am. Biff nodded, walking Marty to the door. As they said their goodbyes, Biff pulled Marty into a quick hug. Thanks for today, she said. It was really great. Marty hugged her back, surprised by how natural it felt. Yeah, it was. We should do it again sometime. As Marty walked home, her arms laden with shopping bags, she found herself smiling. The day had been full of new experiences and challenges, but she felt like she'd come out stronger on the other side. Arriving home, she was greeted by her mother's curious gaze. Have a good day shopping, dear? She asked, eyeing the bags. Marty nodded, a genuine smile on her face. Yeah, Mom, it was really good. She made her way upstairs, eager to organize her new purchases. As she hung up her new clothes and arranged her makeup on her dresser, Marty caught sight of herself in the mirror. The girl looking back at her was still a bit of a stranger, but less so than before. She could see traces of the old Marty in her eyes, in the set of her jaw. But there was something new there, too. Something she was just beginning to understand. As she got ready for bed, Marty found herself thinking about the future. School would be a challenge, no doubt about it. But with Biff by her side, she felt like she could handle anything. Lying in bed, Marty closed her eyes, letting the events of the day wash over her. It had been a day of firsts. First time shopping for girl clothes, first time wearing makeup, first time really embracing this new version of herself. And as she drifted off to sleep, Marty realized something important. This wasn't just about adapting to a new body or learning to be a girl. It was about discovering who she really was, beyond the constraints of gender or expectations. The next morning, Marty woke to the sound of her phone buzzing. It was a text from Biff. "Hey, want to hang out today? I was thinking we could practice walking in heels." Marty chuckled, typing back a quick reply. "Sure, why not? Might as well go all in, right?" As she got dressed, choosing one of her new outfits, Marty felt a sense of anticipation. Each day brought new challenges, but also new discoveries, and with Biff by her side, she felt ready to face whatever came next. Heading downstairs for breakfast, Marty caught sight of her reflection in the hallway mirror. The girl looking back at her smiled, and for the first time, Marty smiled back without hesitation. This was her life now, strange as it might be. And bit by bit, day by day, she was learning to embrace it. Thanks for watching. Be sure to check out Patreon for a lot more content and early access to YouTube videos.